personal Thanksgiving morning the way we like to, talking to friends, talking about building wealth, answering questions. So hopefully you see us and join us. We're going to start by discussing something I had on the daily financial news. Actually, you know what? Before we talk about the live and flip, let's give some time for people to join. Dion, why don't we do the commisseratory? What are you thankful for this Thanksgiving?
I'm selfishly, I'm thankful for everybody who watches the videos and shares their story. Like, I know that there's people who just watch in the background. There's channels I watch where I never comment to. I totally get it. Mm-hmm. But the people who are, I made my first offer. I closed on my deal. I just did my first binder strategy, whatever it is, the people who share that kind of let us know that all of the time that we could be doing anything, mm-hmm. and we're choosing to go, hey, here's how you can get to do anything. People point out the impact.
Yeah, I want to second that. One of the reasons that, I can keep going 5-6 years later, was 7 days a week, now 5 days a week, is because of the audience, right? It's because of the feedback loop. I read every comment. Again, I don't get into conversation. So if I comment on your comment and you reply, I never see them. But yeah, I still read every comment, and I still reply to every comment. And it's just a wonderful feedback loop. I love the fact that people are taking action. Like today on the Daily Financial News, I gave a shout out to Forrest, who took action this weekend and wrote up a series of disrespectful offers, ultimately getting a property that was $199 for $156. We went through the full story in the Daily Financial News. But that's why we do this, right? It's not for us. It's to know that it's impacting others. And that is something I'm hugely thankful for.
Yeah, and it's funny for the people who log in today. Of course, we're doing this to say thank you and answer any questions that come up. You did a video with Beth Traverso this week talking about how this is the week to buy real estate. And it's funny, when I worked at the CDL school before I retired, I ran a nonprofit that did job placement assistance. So I would go all around to work sources, military bases, prisons, helping people go from whatever they used to do into some new job, right? Doing job placement assistance. Yeah. And every year for, I want to say almost 10 years, this week I gave almost the exact same speech, because the prisons, they're pretty much there. But at WorkSource, this is a week where people just take off and they go, okay, this is my nothing week. I'm going to do nothing. I'm not going to pay attention to work or look for a job. And so I'd go, and there'd usually be like 100 people we're presenting to that's on unemployment, changing jobs, or looking for a better job. And this week there'd be 20. And I would say, these are the 20 people that are going to get the jobs no one's applying for this week, because there are companies that have just as much need. And so real estate's the same way. There are people right now, like Beth said, that they're nervous. They've got to sell. They want to sell before it really gets cold. And the buyers are like, nope, I'm going to go buy a turkey. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Again, the crazy thing about real estate, in I've been in sales for a long time, which is a very competitive landscape. You want to compete with less people. I don't know why that is so hard for people. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm only getting to get in the game when everybody else is. That's not when the money is made. You got to be the person doing the work when nobody else is. And as I told Beth, this weekend is the best weekend all year for disrespectful offers. No demand, and the sellers are itching to get out. It's kind of the perfect combination. So
I am evolving as a human. I spoke with 3 people yesterday.
Oh no, 3 people
outside of YouTube. So these aren't people that I know through investing. Yeah. And real estate came up because sucks for them. They're around me. They're all waiting for rates to come down.
Oh, wow.
And here's where the evolution comes in. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it's like, I'm out.
I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's I am with you. It's like, okay, go away. Can't handle that. All right, folks, as always, if you are watching this, we're about 5 minutes in. You can put your comments in there. We will do our best to get them. Here's the trick with us. The earlier you get your comments in, the better chances are you of getting it answered. Typically, we go top down unless somebody cheats and does a super chat to jump the line. But yes, put your comments in. We're gonna talk about live and flip. I highlighted on the Daily Financial News today. I think it is the most beautiful strategy that almost nobody talks about, and even less people do. So Dion, set up what you have going on with your property, because I think it might be just a perfect example of a live and flip.
So it's funny. It's a strategy hardly anyone talks about. Several people have done. I actually know of two people that I talk about often who've used the strategy who don't own rentals.
Yeah.
One is Mindy Jensen. You've been on the BiggerPockets Money podcast with her. She's done the live and flip several times, doesn't own rentals.
Nice.
And the other is that Joe Kuhn that I talk about who retired with stocks, and they did it. For me, it wasn't intentional, right? I didn't do any rehabs the entire growth phase of my investing. I was working, raising kids. I bought rent ready or already occupied. I broke the Zuber rule. I often paid list price on the MLS because it made sense in my market. I just that's a good price. I'll offer it, or I'll offer above it and then negotiate later. And so once retired, having some time freedom, I thought I'll do my first BRRRR. And part of it was I could self-fund it. This is the terrible thing of financial freedom. The money stacks up. So I didn't have to borrow hard money, didn't have to do a loan. I just went out and bought a place. And I had the money to fund the repairs. So I didn't have the hard money timeline. I didn't have, if this isn't done in so many months, the cost of capital goes up and I fail. And so I purchased it in June, closed, July of 2023. Is that right? Yeah, 2023. So July 2024, 1 year. July 2025 will be 2 years. So once I've lived here for 2 years, it triggers the IRS 121 rule. So, and I can actually move out and rent it out for a while. You have to live in it 2 out of the last 5 years. So I would have 3 years to then make up my mind. I'm leaning towards selling, and it's weird. It has nothing to do with the money. All of my purchases were rent ready or rent already occupied. I didn't have to pull hardly any permits. I've done permits for minor electric repairs on things, but this one was a permit fest. Trees, drywall, framing, electric, plumbing, right? I just don't like the town anymore after having to go and beg for permission to create their tax revenue for their city. So I might offload just because of that. But I paid $400,000, right? It was listed at $500. This one needed work, so I paid $400. I put about $62 into it, so I'm $462,000 in.
Okay.
ARV, everyone that's looked at it says it's much higher, but I assume around $750.
Okay.
The houses that are selling on my street that are same size or smaller or less useful, no view, are going for 8+. So
what's the high end? What's so 750?
The high end it could possibly go for, I think it wouldn't break $1 million. It'd probably be 900 in this area. But I think 750 is a safe conservative number to think. If I can get that, I'll list it. If it goes for that, I'll sell. If it goes above that, if there's a bidding war, sure. But less than that, I will probably turn it into a rental.
Okay.
Right. But for that amount or more, I would use the 121 rule. Since I'm single, I would be able to not pay capital gains tax on $250,000. Now it's a primary residence, so I'm not depreciating it. So I don't have a depreciation recapture.
Yep.
If I turn it into a rental, I'll worry about that. It's just great that there's a tool out there that says we encourage you to sell your house in a market where we have a housing shortage.
Yeah, it's really weird because there was a time, if you go back and look at the 121 rule, it used to be a one and done thing. It used to be you could only do it one time because the theory behind it made sense, right? The whole idea is they were trying to protect people who in high expensive markets like Florida and California and New York, who bought their properties 30 years ago. They were teachers. That was the theory behind the 121 rule when it was first rolled out, I think in the early 80s. It has since changed. And I think it changed in like 99 or 2000. So it's relatively recent. You now can do it over and over again. So in theory, Dion, you could do this 5 times a decade and, pocket $250,000 tax free. It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was a time where it was a one and done. I didn't start investing until, a decade ago, basically. And I've thought there are a couple of properties that I would, get rid of the problem properties if I was ever going to sell properties, move into them for a couple of years. So with this one, I moved in.
I love it.
And I had the Mindy Jensen experience of it was a war zone for the first 10 months, right? There were months with no kitchen, no bathroom, no water. I was showering at the state park up the street, and then, prioritize the other unit to get it rented out, and then slowly cycled through my unit. And if you have a rental that's in good shape, you can move into it. You don't have to put your family through a rehab. You just sit in the unit and rent like it was a rental already.
Right.
After you've been there for 2 years, now you have, again, for the next 3 years, you have an option of selling and maybe not recouping all of the gains, which is terrible. You made so much money, you might have to.
Oh, feel bad for you.
Right. But hey, if you're married, $500,000 in gains or depreciation recapture, that's a good thing to skip.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, so, simply said, again, folks, not financial advice. Go look it up yourself. But basically, if you live in a home for 2 of the last 5 years, you qualify for this. So you could have had a rental for 20 years, move in it for 2 years, make it your primary residence, and then bingo, bango, sell it, and you could recoup $250 if single, $500 if double. So again, but remember, if it was a rental, you will always have depreciation recapture. The IRS won't forget that you took depreciation. But yeah, pretty cool. Lumberjack says, "Happy Turkey Day, boys." I just wanted to shout out our boy. He's driving with the family, I believe, up to Connecticut, I think he said. So
sounds like a real place.
Yeah, sounds like a real place. You know what it sounds like to me, Dion? It sounds cold. That's what it sounds like.
It does sound cold. Yeah, it's actually cold in Washington this week. It's in the 30s. I'm actually I'm going to message all my tenants, first text, and some of them in like 2 years. Hey, make sure hoses are disconnected.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Well, again, folks, the live and flip strategy, it clearly doesn't make sense. I don't think if you have little kids running around, you don't want to be when Dion says war zone, he's obviously talking about remodel war zone, not neighborhood. But again, I don't know why it's not a strategy that more people do. I think it's an awareness thing. Because again, if the timeline for a flip is 2 years, you can really plan it out, right? You can kind of section off different parts of the house and make it. It's not like a gut job, right? It's not a gut job you try to get done in 90 days or 5 months. So why do you think it's a strategy that more people don't do?
Most people don't plan moving into their investing strategy or their tax strategy. I think that's the main reason it's skipped.
Okay. Yeah. Again, folks, let us know in the comments below. Would you ever consider doing a live-in flip? Again, I think it makes sense if you're single. I think it makes sense if you're an empty nester. Again, I think I've shared this a couple of different times. It was 20 years ago when I first learned about, maybe 18 years ago, whatever, long time ago. Olivia and I were on a Crystal cruise, and we bumped into this couple doing laps, that you do because you're out in the ocean going to Alaska or whatever it was. And we both said we're in real estate. And, Olivia and I think at the time had, I don't know, 20 units, something like that. Not a lot. And they said, "Oh, we do flips. We do live-in flips in Beverly Hills." I'm like, what the hell is that? So we ended up having lunch or dinner with them later, and they went through the whole strategy. Yeah. Every 2 years or so, they bought another rundown house, lived in Beverly Hills for a couple of years, remodeled it, sold, found the next one. And that was their job. That was their job. That's all they did for money was live-in flips. It's crazy.
So one of the things that I think I often hear people say backwards is my area is too expensive to do that strategy, whether it's live and flip or house hacking. And that's backwards. I think
that's ass backwards. Yes.
The more important and impactful house hacking can be. I mean, and I always pick on him. I love Millennial Mike like a brother, right? Like he's a close friend of mine. So I pick on Gary, Indiana, because I know his skin is thick enough to handle it. If you house hack a $700,000 duplex in Washington State, or you house hack a $60,000 duplex in Gary, Indiana, which one is saving you money? Which one is gaining you appreciation? That's why he does it. He house hacks his very expensive duplex in Washington and then vests at a distance. So the live and flip, I don't know that I would do it in Gary, Indiana.
Oh,
right. No. There's not enough.
You want
meat
the
on the
spread.
bone.
Yeah, you want this. That is absolutely right. I hear a lot of time I can't do that strategy here because it's too expensive. I think the live and flip is best in an expensive market, right? Because you get that unfair, spread. Again, Real estate's not like stocks where everybody knows the price of Apple and Tesla at the moment, right? We can all look it up on our phone. There's a lot more subjective nature in high-priced real estate. And you only need one buyer. It's not like you need lots of buyers. So I totally agree with you. Live and flip is a strategy. I would only do live and flip above the median, which is people probably have never heard me say. I would not do a live and flip below the median. It's not worth it. I mean, I want the full 250. I don't want to do a live and flip and make 25 grand.
No,
I want 250 grand.
That spread you're talking about, let's say you have the $700,000 duplex in Washington. I pick it up for 400, put 60 into it. If the $60,000 duplex in Gary, Indiana was free.
No, exactly.
If you got it for $0, there isn't the spread there to make the money.
No, I don't think I've ever said this on this channel. Live and flip is the only strategy that I could think of that I would do above the median on purpose, right? On purpose. So again, I love the numbers. Got into it 462. You're probably going to get 850. Again, 100K more. So Dion, I got bad news for you, brother. You're going to pay some taxes.
Well, on the plus side, I'm going to have agent fees. Yep. So because this is the cool thing about real estate, right? You get the money, then you get to take money out before we consider taxes.
Yep.
Right.
Above and below the line. Yep.
I'm going to have agent fees. I might actually be encouraged to go, hey, why don't I put a new roof on for the buyer? Mm-hmm. Because if the money is going to go to taxes anyway, and it's not going to be a gain to me, I don't care. I'll make this more attractive to them.
Yep.
I mean, it's so weird. It's like Congress is full of people who own real estate.
Yeah.
Keep making laws that benefit people who own real estate. But yeah, there was a comment there earlier too from somebody that said, you won't be able to write off all of it because I'm single, right? I could go get married.
No, Dion, no.
Not going to happen.
No.
What is the loss of half of your assets? No.
Yeah.
It sucks. I'm going to make so much money, I have to pay some taxes.
Yeah. Never let taxes wag. Don't let taxes wag the dog. I've seen too many people make that mistake for sure.
So taxes are so nuanced. There's a question that comes up of, what if you're in a duplex? Your half can go for 121, the other half can go for 1031. Right. 121, 1031. And so mine, well, it is a duplex with dual meters and I took the gas out, but there were dual meters for that too. It's registered as a single family house. I'm not depreciating.
Yep.
So you can get really into the weeds with taxes. Always talk to your CPA. Mm-hmm. So let's say I made so much money that I would pay some taxes. Well, my half, I'll 121 rule up to 250,000. The other half, I'll 1031, not pay any taxes. Like there's a more nuanced way to get more creative to make this to where there's more money in your pocket at the end of the day, because the actual goal is to encourage more housing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see if there's any questions we want to jump into. Lots of great comments. You see any in there that we should riff on for a little bit there, big guy?
I just saw the one about the duplex question.
Yeah. I want to shout out, I'm going to call it A-Rod REI, wrote a disrespectful offer today, taking your advice. Again, folks, this is the weekend. My hope for people that really watch our channel is you have a list of properties that you have already written a disrespectful offer on. Those are the properties I would follow up on this weekend. In fact, I would follow up on properties before I wrote a net new disrespectful offer. The money's in the follow-up, folks. Like, again, who was it this morning? Forrest. Forrest's first offer was not accepted. It's when he learned what was important to the seller, he went back with a second, slightly better offer that he got a yes answer. So I would prioritize following up before net new offers. It's a little nuance.
I've had 2 deals where my offer was accepted.
Mm-hmm.
The rest were all from follow-up.
Oh,
so even this one that I'm in here, I offer 4. They were at 5. We went back and forth for 2 months.
Exactly.
Follow-up. And my follow-up was, no, I offered 4 the whole time, but I kept following up. And it was actually when I sent the email, I'm pulling my offer, that it got accepted.
There you go.
The rest of it has been, and even before 2020, almost all my deals were, I make an offer, I get outbid, and then I send a follow-up saying I'm in second position. If that falls through, I'm here still. So yeah, definitely follow-up is at least as important as new offers, if not more.
Yeah. Again, what people need to realize when I talk about writing disrespectful offers, it's a process, right? You write the offer, the seller gets smacked in the face. They don't want to do it. You follow up 10 days later. They're less offended, right? They pull it back. And eventually the seller's going to do one of three things. They're going to pull it off the market, let the listing expire. They're going to sell it to someone else, or they're going to sell it to you. I mean, those are the only three outcomes. So it's pretty wild. Just run the process. What else? Dion? What are you thinking?
Manuel says, I would do a flip as long as my wife agrees. So if you can get your family on board. So earlier, Mike, you said, I wouldn't do it if you had kids, right? Most of the time I bring up house hacking, people will say, I can't do it because I have family. I don't think you know if it's a good or bad idea until you run it by them.
Yeah.
Right. When I went to my kids and I said, hey, we live in a house on a lake.
Yeah.
The boat access. We've got tennis courts, basketball courts, all your friends in school and everything. I'm thinking about moving 30 miles away into another town to rent an apartment. Everyone told me, why would you do that? My kids were excited. Yeah. My son was like, hang on, we're going to move into an apartment complex with a bunch of other teenage girls. I'm in. And
I'm in. Sign me up.
My daughter was like, I get to be the new girl in a new area. And it was so, and now you might ask your family and they have a laundry list of reasons of why no. And now you know, but I wouldn't make the assumption.
Yeah. I would, as a dad, I wouldn't do it. Little kids being, the ones that pick up stuff and put it in their mouth kind of age. That's just, let's not be stupid with our children. But yeah, I think if you have teenage kids and whatnot, yeah, run it by them. Since I don't see any comments, let's talk about our Vegas event, right? Our Vegas event's now 80 days. I think it's 78 days away. You, the Lumberjack, and many others are going to be there. Who needs to be there, right? There's about half the tickets are sold out. We still got half to go. Like, people are on the fence about going because, again, it's, not only ticket costs, but flights and hotels. Who needs to be there, Dion?
So I'm going to flip it. I'm not going to take the contrarian view. I'm going to flip the question.
Okay.
I was thinking about doing a video this week, so this might come out later. Why I don't go to BPCon.
Okay.
So the list of people who shouldn't go to an event like the One Rental at a Time event in February is easier to clarify than the people who should.
Okay.
So I'm a teaching assistant for the BiggerPockets rookie boot camps, right? I've been on their show. I interact with them. I've guest co-hosted a couple of times. Like, I really like the BiggerPockets community, but I would never go to BPCon. And here's why. And I want to see if I could say this without insulting you.
Oh, shit. Oh, God.
I don't know if I would go to the One Rental at a Time event if we weren't friends. And here's why. Because I would have to buy a ticket.
Yep.
I would be paying to go.
Yeah.
Since I'm trying to help people reach financial freedom that I've already done, I would go to BPCon if I went to present and I didn't have to pay to be there.
Right.
I'm coming to your event. You're not paying for anybody to be there. You're not paying for hotels. You're not paying for flights. So you're not saying, hey, I'll cover your expenses. I think that's like bribing people to come. But since I'm financially free, I'm not around these groups of people to learn, right? I've won the game. I've stopped playing.
Yep.
If you've won the game, you never want to own another rental. Like, I actually actively kind of don't. I probably will, but I don't want to. Don't go to BBCon. Don't go to the One Rental at a Time event. But if you're in growth mode, you want to be around other successful people, or you're making a strategy change, like you're getting ready for that exit strategy. Because believe me, when I'm at that 70 years old looking to offload my thing, I will be around the people that are looking to acquire the property. So there'll be a period where I'll be back in. I need to be around these kind of people. I want to go to the event to meet the people that interact in the chat all the time, to do all of this. So that's why I was being careful of saying is if you don't want to learn, if you don't want to be more successful, why go? But
no, I agree. That's not insulting at all. I mean, when you think about the event I'm putting on is for the people in growth mode or the folks just starting out. That's why we don't sell anything. You were there last year. We don't sell a thing. Nobody's going back of the room, bring out your credit card nonsense. That's not happening. I don't do that. Second, half the time is the audience lining up, asking questions, right? My job is to pull together an audience or speakers that are go-givers, that are willing to come out on their dime, right? To be clear, you're not paying for a ticket. That's the one thing you get from me. You don't pay for a ticket. and I feed you. That's all I'm giving you, right? You're paying for your own flight. You're paying for your hotels, all of that. I don't do that for anybody. But I coordinate and curate a list of speakers that half the time is the audience asking them questions. And I do that because A, it's different, but B, that's what I wanted. I didn't want to go sit in rooms and have death by PowerPoint. I didn't want to go sit in rooms where it was Russell Brunson's perfect sales pitch that I go back in the room and throw my credit card down for $2,099 or whatever the hell it was. None of that stuff makes me sick. The first event we did because I agreed with you that I wanted, you challenged me 50,000. I said, okay, I'll spend 10 grand. Right. That was our talk. That was, I don't know what that was, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was. And so that's what the first event was, just a pure celebration. I had no plans of doing a second one until I was halfway through day one and I was riding on a cloud. It was so fun seeing people interact, get value, network, have new friendships made. And that's why I agreed to do a second one. I do not agree to do a third one. I'm going to take these things year by year. They're a lot of work and a lot of freaking money. But yeah, it's not meant for the people that have won the game.
I'm also going to keep trying to spend your money. And here, I actually have it like an example of why.
Oh God.
So I listed out the reasons why I wouldn't go to like BPCon, right? I've won the game. I've stopped playing. There are people that are in growth mode. The only way you fail is by quitting.
Yeah.
And I've picked on him once or twice before. I consider him a friend. We've talked kind of like us weekly for a couple of years now. But Chester, it's the wealth building journey in the chat. The first couple of years was just dead set on one strategy. And he beat his head against a wall, studying his market, trying to find it. We looked at several deals together. Like I would look at them together. Parking usually blew it up because he was trying to do rent by the room or the area or something would kill the deal. I don't think Chester would own a rental if he didn't surround himself with us, get in our Zooms, get in our chat, go to your event, and then he closed on a rental. He owns an at a distance rental. He went to the old guy REI Millennial Mike strategy of another state, found the market, closed on it. There's someone just like Chester that's been trying for 2 months, a year, who would absolutely quit if they don't get what they expect in the next month or two. But if they come in February and they get around the Mikeys, the buzz tunes who go, okay, I just started, I got close to financial firefighter. I only got 3 deals in my first year, but I'm going to go and see what happens this year. They're going to hear him talk and go, wait, you got 3 your first year? What did you do? How'd you have to change? The motivation comes back, that excitement comes in, and they get the next couple of months that they probably need to close on that actual deal. So I'm going to push for year 3.
You could run one of these too.
I'm too lazy. We talked about that.
I know. I just, but yeah, it's, I think the Vegas event is I guess, the biggest thing so I've been going, I was a sales guy, which meant every quarter we were going to, sales kickoff or quarterly, they called them QBRs, quarterly business reviews. We would go, because I was on the go-to-market strategy. We'd go to Vegas 4 times a year for, this, that, the other, event. And, the one thing that still makes me smile to this day about our event was the audience, right? As somebody who has been responsible for, events as large as 10,000 back in the day, the audience makes it. And what I saw last time, and frankly hope to see next time or this time, is the audience interacting with everybody. It was like we were all cousins, maybe second cousins. Like we knew each other, right? We knew our names, and it just conversations were just everywhere, right? One of the hardest things I had to do last time was shut down conversations and get you guys back in the seats, right, for the next speaker. So yeah, the folks that we attract are, frankly, I don't know any other word but amazing, right? We we don't have any big timers, right? We don't have anybody trying to act like they're the biggest, the baddest in the world. Everybody has their strategy, their thing, their journey. And there are no egos, right? There's nobody, kind of big time in the event. That was awesome to see.
We have a question here from A-Rod. Currently have $200,000 ready for the next down payment on a new deal. How do you guys keep from getting fear of missing out? Just keep strictly to the math? ?
You want to go first or me?
If you want to have $200,000 ready, how do you keep from getting fear of missing out?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it at the end of there. To me, it's all the numbers, right? And again, maybe I've admitted this is my superpower. So to me, it's simply, but as Dion has told me, sometimes it's hard to understand what you already know, right? Go back to the beginning. So for me, the whole job of having a buy box, the daily discipline, ultimately learning average so that I can target a great deal. So, let's say a great deal is 9% yield today. It doesn't bother me one iota that I have and I have more than that. I have significantly more than that sitting idle, but I'm just doing what I do. I want a 9% yield or I'm not playing. And I'm perfectly fine keeping that in a money market account, making 4.5 or whatever I'm making today. So it is completely a math equation to me. And again, I've been doing this for 25 years. I know somewhere in there I'm going to find, I have belief, I have proof of concept. I know with certainty, the more days in a row I showed up, the more days in the row I write offers, that I will get that 9%, or I will just have cash in the bank. So to me, it's not hard. It's really never been hard because it's always been a yield calculation to me.
The math matters, right? To me, it's a part of the equation. And here's how the math changes, A-Rod, every month with this fear of missing out. You have $200,000 saved ready for the next down payment. I was in a similar position, I think 3 or 4 years ago. The money started to pile up, and we made videos where I have 200, I have 250, and I started making videos. I wanted to buy a fourplex that was worth at least $1 million because I was getting around a 10% return. So the more it cost, if I could hit my yield, less transactions, more cash flow. So I wanted a fourplex for at least $1 million. But I looked every month, and the 250 became 280, became 300, became 4, became whatever. And so I started thinking, well, I want the fourplex. I could self-fund a BRRRR, right? Pay cash, pay for the rehab, then finance it out. I could do this. So your strategy can change as your down payment increases. So instead of thinking fear of missing out, what is the opportunities that open as your down payment grows? Mm-hmm. Maybe you look at a more expensive market. Maybe instead of looking at duplexes, you look at fourplexes. In that whole time I was doing that in 2021, because I was still looking, a good deal duplex popped up. And then it isn't to me just the math, because I have this laundry list of other things. So once it hits the metric I'm looking for in my yield, then I usually want side-by-side units. I want garages in the middle. I want washer dryer hookups inside. I want pet-friendly fenced yards. I want it more than 10 miles from my other properties, close to several economic drivers. That duplex, well, it only got around a 10 or 11% return. It wasn't like it's so good I have to jump on it. It was as good as all my other deals, but it hit every box that I was like, yeah, I really want this fourplex, but that checks the math box, that checks all these other boxes. And so I bought it. And then the money built up again, and I self-funded a BRRRR that I might finance. I might sell. It's the one we talked about at the beginning, the live and flip. Mm-hmm. I think instead of fear of missing out, it would be fear of taking a mediocre deal and missing out on what was just around the corner.
Yeah, opportunity cost. Let's go to Kris. Kris is having problems with squatters in the Central Valley. Yes, break-ins, vacant units, turns, all of that. So yeah, unfortunately, I've been in the Central Valley for a long time. I've been through some horrible events. Like I was buying during the foreclosure wave, which, there were so many break-ins and all of that. If you go back early on my channel, I was doing flips in 2018, 19. I actually talked about break-ins a couple of different times. So this is not new to me at all. Unfortunately, the answer is you got to spend some money. I remember when I was doing flips in 2018, 19, probably early 20, I would have to pay for security to go by 3 times a night. And, it's not cheap, but, if they get in, they get them out really quickly. I've paid for Wi-Fi and had cameras so I can get video evidence. Unfortunately, I'm sure this is true everywhere. I only know about the Central Valley. Once a house gets targeted, is empty, it gets passed around, right? All these folks just keep passing it around, and it's a target. It's a target until you make it not a target, until they know that the police will show up. They know that there'll be video evidence. And the only way around it is to spend money. One place got tagged so many times, I actually paid a cop to live there, until it was very clear that this was no longer a place to come. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's a headache. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars from squatters breaking a window and doing just horrible things to be mean. But yeah, the only way to fix it, I paid security to go by 3 times a night, actually 5 times a day, twice during the day, 3 times at night, until they stopped coming. I mean, that was how I got around it. It's not fun. It's not cheap. But you've just got to make the squatters know, well, 123 Main Street, can't go there anymore. Right. Until you do that, until you make it a deterrent, they will keep talking about 123 Main Street being the party house. They will. They tell everybody.
So there's 2 versions of the issue to deal with here. The first one is the break-ins that could become squatters, but the people that break in, steal the water heater, steal the pipes. You're absolutely right, Mike. So when I ran the truck driving school, we used to have people steal fuel. So we had to pay for security to basically just spend the night to stop that. And then it was a cost analysis. How much is the fuel versus how much is, and it was totally worth it to have it. I don't know that with a rental, it would be worth paying security. If it's in the right area, having a cop stay there, it's brilliant. Me and Millennial Mike have talked about, just give us the address. We'll go hang out there.
Yeah.
So with me, it's make sure you have a landlord policy in place for utilities so that if the tenants move out, it automatically goes back into your name. So you have,
correct.
I put in motion sensor LED exterior lights in all my rentals while the tenants are there. So those will still be active. As soon as you find out a place is empty, put in Wi-Fi. I use an Arlo camera system. There's a different one you can get out there through Comcast or Xfinity, but Arlo, you don't have to have an account with somebody else. You put the cameras up. It has a base station connected to your Wi-Fi. You can put in as many cameras as you want. So have it on the points of entry, and then inside the base station has an alarm you can trigger, and you push a button and it triggers the alarm. You can also talk through each camera. So you can say, hey, no, police are on the way. It has, video records, maintains the videos for 7 days. You can download them and then you have them forever. But for those 7 days, you can look back and go, what happened? So every now and then you want to check to see if there was some activity. Cameras being visible helps. The main reason I like the cameras is it's hooked up to an app on your phone. So if there's motion triggered, you see, oh, there's a raccoon, you ignore it. Oh, somebody's going in the window. You call the cops immediately, because squatters aren't squatters until they've established residency. Breaking in doesn't establish residency. Living there and having a toothbrush in the bathroom can establish residency. So then that's the first thing. The second thing is, how do you deal with the actual squatters? And this I got from Millennial Mike, right? A first responder. And he says, make a lease with somebody else. Have a signed lease with somebody else that if there's a squatter in your house, that person and you can go to the house, because you're the landlord. You have basically no rights against a tenant. But somebody with a lease can show up and say, no, I live here. This person doesn't. And now it becomes where the cops can get involved. You have to know your local state laws. That's how it would work in Washington. There is exactly as much crime in every neighborhood. There aren't neighborhoods where there's more crime. The type of crime changes. It might be white collar. It might be theft. It might be shoplifting. It might be ATM robberies. It might be vehicle prowls or carjacking. So there's just as many criminals everywhere. The harder you make it for a criminal to target you, the less likely the crime is to happen to you. So visible cameras, signs, actually taking action when there's motion.
Yeah, so it looks like Kris hadn't thought about the security visit, so he will take action on that. And again, my experience says once you make it known that this vacant house is protected, they very quickly find another house that's not protected, and suddenly you are off the list. So yes, I have seen all kinds in my day.
Do you see Gavin's question?
I did. If Zuber could get a 10% guaranteed ROI in alternative funds, would he still look for real estate deals? Absolutely. Again, I talked earlier about 9%, again, 10% being, I wouldn't care if the alternative funds are 18%. I know real estate. My experience, again, starts off with taking $7,000, putting it to 200, only to lose, 160 of it. I know real estate. I don't know the alternative investment. I don't know the gotchas. I don't know any of that. I have a unique set of skills built up over 20 some odd years, where I have a competitive advantage, and I see no interest in building up a new set of skills. I don't want to start at the beginning. So to me, the answer is no. You got to remember, I'm a guy who's already won the game by a lot. So to me, anything new seems risky. That's my quick answer.
This is one of my favorite questions. I love the question because it logically makes sense. Because Gavin, the way you worded it, I love it. It's a guaranteed 10% ROI. So we even remove the gotchas.
Yep.
You just put your money in. The machine's going to kick you out. Guaranteed 10%. You can get your capital back anytime you want. Like, remove all the doubt.
Magic.
Absolutely rentals all day long. And here's why. I put $100,000 in the machine that's going to kick me back $10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That's the guaranteed 10% Gavin question.
Yep.
I put $100,000 into real estate, and I've been getting better than 10% first year. I'm around 24% by year 3, right? So let's say I only get 5%. Mm-hmm. With my rental, I'm going to cut my returns that I have consistently got for a decade in half. I still go real estate because I put $100,000 into a duplex. I purchase a $400,000 duplex. So the 5% return is cash flow because of depreciation and write-offs, no taxes. The 10% guaranteed return is taxed. Now, appreciation on real estate on average is 5% a year. There are some years like we've had 19, 24% here in Washington the last couple of years, but it could be lower. It could go negative, right? So I average it out at 5%. 5% isn't on my 100,000. It's on the 400,000 because I get the appreciation, not the bank. That's 20 grand.
Levered return. Yes.
So we got 10,000 over here, 5,000 in cash flow, 20,000 in appreciation on just average. It's been hundreds of thousands in appreciation recently. Then add principal pay down, right? The tenants are paying off the debt. So I don't even have to worry about paying off the debt. The stacked metrics that make real estate destroy. That's where, Zuber, when you said, I can get a guaranteed 18%, I agree. 18% wouldn't make me pull away from real estate and buy it. Now, guaranteed you start passing the 30% zone, I might consider it. But that 10%, 20%, real estate still dominates.
No, and again, so all true. I mean, it's funny. I had a conversation with Jason Hartman, well, maybe been a year ago or something, about taking the 54-year spreadsheet that, I've looked at dozens of times. I've looked at hundreds of times. And he's like, you need to add a row for levered return. And he's absolutely right? Because a lot of these, especially when you take the spreadsheet and compare stocks versus real estate, it's not a fair comparison, right? Because the average real estate's purchase, I think the average, including owner-occupied, is 12%. That's the average equity injection at point of purchase. If you even raise that to 20 or 25%, which is an average equity investment for investors, the levered returns are 4 or 5x. And, it's just that. But again, I go back to kind of my anchor, know thyself. I think Pace Morby talks about that all the time, know thyself. And for me, it's about understanding your competitive advantage. I've worked for 24 to 25 years to hone my skills and be creative and skill up. And I see no interest in chasing something else. Right. Now, some of you that know me might have come back and say, hey, Zuber, then why'd you put some money in crypto? I've got, guys, it's an insurance policy. I've been clear about that since I spent the $100,000 in 2018. Right. I was going to go take 1% of my net worth, put it in this thing, and then never cash it in. Just let it sit there in case the world came to an end. Right. I didn't try to learn crypto. I went to a guy I knew and said, what are the two big coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum? And then I took like 5 or 10% of that money, and I threw it at 2 crazy altcoins that ultimately went to zero. But I have the other. I have the Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're just insurance policies to me. I didn't learn them. I don't want to learn them. I mean, talk about driving me crazy. Try to figure out that space. No, thanks. I'll stay with real estate.
What I like there with the crypto is Charlie Munger's quote, right? You know, Warren Buffett tells everybody, diversify, diversified index portfolio. And then Kevin O'Leary says, no more than 20% of your net worth in any one asset class, no more than 5% in any one asset, right? And so people think, oh, I got to diversify. I want 7 streams of income. All these millionaires have 7 streams. Charlie Munger says, focus on one asset class and master it to become wealthy. Once you're wealthy, now you diversify to protect it. So I've said several times, if my net worth, which just barely over, if I sold, paid all the everything, is about 3 million, right? If it passes 10, I will diversify and put about 1% of my net worth into crypto. Yeah. I might even buy a stock someday, right?
No, don't do it, Dion. Don't do it.
But that's to diversify. Then I focused on one asset class. I'm diversified in the asset class, right? I have, military tenants, Section 8 tenants, working or retired tenants. My properties are 10 miles apart next to several economic drivers. Like I was able to master one asset class to do that. So when somebody asks you, why do you have crypto? You became wealthy and then said, here's my insurance policy. I'll put some money in that. Yeah. And again, the literal best performing asset of the last decade, crypto, you put some money into it. It's still not an asset class that either of us want to learn.
No, it is literally insurance. I don't trade it. I don't buy anymore. I only look at it because it hits the news. Right. And so very, very cool. What else, Dean? We got 17 minutes or so to impart wisdom. Where do you want to go from here? Why don't we talk about the school community? I don't really see any questions.
Yeah, I was looking for questions too. Don't really see any.
Yeah.
When is your next live in the school community?
I don't have one scheduled right now. I think we might do next Wednesday, you, I, and Matt. Why don't we do that? I try to do one live a month. I did that last week or Monday. So yeah, maybe the 3 of us next week. What do you think?
That works for me. I love the 3 amigos when we go live. It's perfect.
All right, we'll do that. So I will schedule that. The school community is really taking off because we're starting, this is how I see one rental at a time, right? There's this guy that won the race in 2018 who's depressed, needs to feel like he's doing something. I write a book, start a channel. After about a year, maybe 9 months of flailing, I find other millionaires, first Anna Kelly, then Matt, then you, rolled out to 12 or 15. That became kind of the next, support group of one rental at a time. Like this channel, my YouTube channel probably doesn't exist if it's still just me trying to find content, right? It's 6 years to that. Are you kidding me? But because we talk every week and we just talk about what's going on in our lives, it's easy to do. But now what I'm seeing above us is there's this next set of people that are taking the mission, right? So in school, we got Frank, old guy REI. We have Jared. We have Max. We have, I want to get their names right so I don't mess this up. Where is it? Amelia and Jen doing Ladies of Orat, and Hunter leading a mastermind around agents and brokers. We have 5 accountability groups every week that I'm not a part of. I'm not doing any. I have never joined one of the calls, which I think is awesome, right? That others are picking that stuff up. So I love the community because it's just like-minded people being attracted and going forward.
So you retired in 2018, not expecting to. You were, I think, 46, planning to work till 50.
Correct.
Had a bad day and left.
I did.
I loved my job. I didn't have a boss that came and said, hey, those things you told me you don't want to do, Zuber, here's the list of things you're going to do. It's all those things. I had great bosses. They owned the company. They left me alone. They moved to another state. We just interacted through Zoom mostly, or when we would take trips, but loved my job. I started going on videos and doing videos first video out on YouTube. So I've been on several before that, but my first video out on YouTube, I think, was January 6, 2021. It's my first start the video. Yeah, that was what it was. So coming up on 3 or 4 years now, 4 years of YouTube.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't think I would have retired if I didn't do YouTube. So I did it before retiring, but that got me in your community more than I was, more interacting with people, more seeing. Like, I had no idea what my net worth was until I did a video. I had no idea what my actual cash flow was. I had an idea, okay, it makes this much. I'm living on it. I'm saving more than that until I do a video. What's my cash flow look like? And I remember I was at work on Sunday at 7 o'clock at night, just finished working on a Sunday at 7 o'clock at night. And I thought, I'm going to do a YouTube video. And I went on the whiteboard, which I guess I stole it. No, I bought it. This is my whiteboard. Sure. Same one that was at work. No, that one was whiteboard. And I did a video, what's my cash flow? And then I sat down after the video, sitting in the chair, looking at that, thinking, why am I working? Like, that's 4 times what I need. Why am I here? I wasn't doing YouTube, and I wasn't doing the videos, and I wasn't interacting with Matt, Mike, you. I'd probably still be working.
It's funny. I think you're right. I mean, I saw it in you. I mean, we were doing weekly calls by that point, and again, you loved your job. You were the man. You were making an impact. You were taking on challenges. But yeah, I actually saw a guy who had never thought about being done start to think about being done, start to see impact growing, and kind of get addicted. Right? This is fun when you can help people and get that feedback loop going. So I remember that evolution, because I remember being surprised that you gave notice, right? Because Matt, I mean, think about it. Matt and the 3 of us were doing our thing. I had always thought, given our conversations, that the lumberjack would be first, because he always had a date, right? Sales guys are very date driven, right? End of year, blah, blah, blah. Then he had an acquisition, and just, it kept getting delayed. And then out of nowhere, you kind of like brought it up off camera, like, like I'm retiring. I'm like, huh? I remember that.
Yeah. My sentence used to be, I don't know if I'll ever retire early. I don't even know if I'll retire late. I said that in several videos.
Many times. Yeah.
And then once I got the idea of the math, and I realized, I think this is part of it. I don't know if I've ever had this thought before. I think this is part of it. I realized how few people get in the position to be able to retire early.
Yeah. That
I would be stupid not to once I could. I think that made sense.
No, it absolutely. But for me, I want to add a little piece of that. So it's one thing to be there, but for me, at least for me, I had to have something else to do. I wasn't going to play golf. I couldn't sit in front of the TV. I wanted to have a mission. And then YouTube became the mission. That was important to me.
Yeah. I think if I didn't have something to do, I probably would have stayed at work, but I built a life where work was in the way, where every time I wasn't at work, I was scuba diving, kayaking, paddleboard. I didn't paddleboard top, so I didn't learn that, but I was traveling. I was doing months here, 2 months here. I literally went to Florida for a couple of months to learn the market for a friend and scuba dive. Basically, I learned that Florida is the Australia of the United States. Like, basically everything's trying to kill you. It was totally worth it. And so after doing that, I thought, yeah, so if work wasn't here, I could do this all the time. Mm-hmm. And then I see a question here from Bill O'Connell. Howdy, Bill. Good to see you here in the chat. Do you look at yard size when looking at deals?
I actually look for fenced yard size, because again, fences are expensive. I want to typically, again, this is residential. That adds to rent, right? Because people can let their dogs run, kids run. I had looked at lot size. It's not necessarily lot size, but it's access to it, like corner lots. Because again, if you're going to do an ADU, it's nice to have, kind of dual access points. So I do look at things like that, not just yard size, but access to yard size.
It's a contributing factor for me. I like to be able to put in the advertisement when I list a unit, pet-friendly fenced yard. I literally go on Canva. I probably have a picture I could pull up, but go on Canva, and it's, you put a watermark so that scammers are less likely to use your photos to scam somebody. Put in my email or whatever, but I'll also put pet-friendly fenced yard, large bonus room, like whatever the thing is, I'll put it in the picture and get more demand that way. I see the next comment down says bigger yard means more maintenance. I don't do the maintenance.
Yeah, it's just, that's a tenant's resident. That's a tenant's problem. Yeah.
And a lot of tenants that come go, oh, I can't believe the yard. Like my triplex has got 3 separate, fully fenced, nice, beautiful yards. And every single time somebody comes, they go, there's so much yard here. Bigger would be nice. I think I do look, it's weird. I prefer septic over sewer. So I always look at yard size.
You're kidding.
Oh, I've done the math.
Oh,
I'm tens of thousands ahead on my septic systems and tens of thousands behind on my sewer systems.
I think I need to see that video.
So I need to make the video then, because I haven't done it yet. It's just the thing. I talk about it in my long videos all the time. So sewer system has a bill of $80 to $150 per unit a month. All my units are in Washington. It's about what it costs, except for Port Orchard, $500. Stupid. Another reason why I want to sell this place. $500 a month for sewer.
Wow.
Like, okay. So consistently, ever. I've replaced one septic system ever, 17 grand, right? So $17,000. That's a few years of sewer. All of my major sewer repairs have been on my pipes, on my sewer system. So I've spent way more money on my sewer systems because the pipes are on my side of the property line.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I get that.
When I'm looking at fence size, which is what came to this, I also like the fenced yards and size of fenced yards so that my leach line isn't where somebody can drive, where somebody's going to pull in. Like if I have trees trimmed, they're not going to pull their bucket truck into it. So I'll look at that kind of stuff as far as layout goes. And I'm 50-50. I have half sewer, half septic. Sewer's way worse than septic.
All right. I have to go back and look at my numbers because I have a few that are on septic. Old guy REI asked the question. I think you need to reach out to him personally. I'm
going to call him after this.
Yeah, I think you should call him. This is not a comment I want on my channel. So you just call old guy REI after this question. Talk about LLCs because I don't want to get. This would be a lot longer than a 5-minute conversation.
It's hilarious in my live streams when I love it when there's someone new. I love when somebody's brand new. Oh, I'm checking out this channel. I've never seen a live before. Oh, they talk real estate. How many LLCs do I need? And then I can watch all the comments come in from everybody. It's like, oh no, oh crap, here comes a soapbox. And I'm like, I'm gonna go get a drink because everyone knows we just lost 10 minutes. Yeah. So thanks, Frank. That's hilarious.
There you go. Earlier, you appeared to be drinking grape juice. I was going to ask you that the other day when we were talking. Do you actually is that wine this early in the morning?
I don't know why. This is weird, and it's not really YouTube related. Recently I've been thinking about my parents a lot. And it's just weird. They've been dead 5 and 10 years, right? Okay. My dad wore a cowboy hat, so I wear a cowboy hat now. And my mom drank this disgusting Port Gallo by the case wine. So
it's a boxed wine?
No, it comes in bottles, but she buys it by the case. And so it's
it's your toast to your mom.
Think of my mom, I guess. Yeah. So cheers.
All right. Wine at 8 in the morning. Got to respect it.
Can't drink all day unless you start early.
I love that. Well, Dion, you are amazing. Thank you for saying yes to, spending an hour with us on Thanksgiving Day. Wrap it up for us.
I hope that everybody has an amazing day, sets politics aside, sex, family differences aside, is more worried about enjoying the time with friends and family than what effort went into the preparation and what didn't work out perfectly. Have a day full of amazing. And after the holiday, after today, get back out there and do the work so that every single day could be like today where you didn't have to go to work.
There you go. I'm going to leave you with a thought that I actually stole from Cody Sanchez, who stole it from somebody else, but I only read it with Cody Sanchez. A lot of us have family that is far away. A lot of us think that, hey, we've got 20 or 30 years left to see said family members. I challenge you not to think about the 20 or 30 years, but think about the times. How many more times you will see them. You might only see them 10 more times or 5 more times. Again, don't think about the 20 years. Think how many more times you will see them. And then you will get in the car. You will drive them to go see them because you only have a few more times to see them, not 20 years. Have a wonderful day, folks. Like, subscribe, comment, keep being amazing.